Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? I hope you're all doing well and thank you for watching this video. If you're watching for the first time, my name is Marianne Hanson. I'm a counsellor and a coach. I work with women with low self-esteem. I also work with individuals who are struggling with stress, depression and relationship issues, and that includes couples as well. So what I want to talk about today is something I think many of you will be able to either relate to, or it's something that has possibly affected you or someone that you know. So I'm a counsellor, I'm also a coach, but I've been a social worker for most of my career. So I've been a social worker longer than I've been a counsellor and a coach. So something that comes up a lot within my role as a social worker, but also in counselling, is childhood attachment issues and adult relationships. So what I want to talk about is how childhood attachment, first of all, what are some of the issues surrounding that, and then how that can manifest itself in adult relationships. And the reason this is important is because many people are in relationships as adults and they're not aware of the triggers or the underlying reasons for why they are behaving in a certain way, and a lot of times it is rooted in childhood, either attachment issues or some other trauma. So what are attachment issues? So attachment issues are essentially when a child's needs are not met by the parent. So Dr. Bowlby, who was a psychologist in the 1950s, he said that if children's attachment needs are not met within the first 5 years of their life, from 0 to 5, he believed that they would be affected for the rest of their life. Now, there's been lots of people who disagree with that. There's also been additional information about if they're adopted, or if they have a foster carer, or if they have one caregiver, at least one person in their life that is providing their needs and the nurturing, then it can have a massive difference. So the parents might not be available to the child, but they may have an uncle or an aunt or a step parent who can step in and provide that nurture. But the idea really is that during the early years of a child's development, they should have a secure attachment with the people caring for them. So if they don't, it can look like inconsistent parenting. So that could be where a child, one day they go to their mum and dad and ask for a hug. When they fall over and it's, yes, can you give me a hug? They get comfort, they get a plaster. On another day, they can do the exact same thing, but the parent will say, leave me alone, get away from me, grow up, what's wrong with you? Be a big boy, stop crying. Now, for a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, they're not going to understand what's going on. All they're gonna understand is, yesterday mummy was loving towards me, today mummy's horrible towards me, what's going on? Now, in a normal relationship between parents and adults, if the secure attachment is already there, a parent can shout at their child, they can say, get away from me, you're getting on my nerves, and the child will not be affected because they know that they've already established a firm attachment to the parent. If you've got an inconsistent parenting, meaning that one day something's happening, then the next day it's different, then 2 days down the line it's different, the child isn't going to know what's going on, so they're not going to have that security. So another thing that can happen is the parent can't securely attach to the child. They haven't been taught. They don't understand what it means to be a parent. They don't like the idea of being a parent, but they feel like they've been persuaded into it. They feel like they have to do it. So they're doing it in a very robotic way, or they're not doing the nurturing part. Now, when that happens, when the child is a baby, they're not going to recognise it as much, but they're going to feel it. So when a parent doesn't play with the child, doesn't read to them, doesn't act silly and do the silly things that we normally do with babies and toddlers, the child is going to recognise that there's not that much fun or love or nurturing coming from mummy. They might still get fed, they might still have their nappies changed and things, but they just will miss out on a few other bits. And that can sometimes mean that there's not that connection and that attachment to the child in the same way as a child who was getting that sort of attachment gets. The other thing could be a parent is unable to attach to a child because they're of substance abuse. They might be going out and doing, getting the drugs from the drug dealer, so they could leave the house for days on end. The other thing that could happen is they could be leaving that child with lots of different adults, so with their friends, so that they can go partying or whatever it is. either way, that child is not going to feel safe, because safety comes from knowing that your parents are there for you no matter what. Your parents will protect you, your parents will comfort you. If you don't receive all of those things when you're very, very little, then it's going to be hard for you to accept that that's a possibility in the future. So if my mum and dad haven't given that to me, how is a complete stranger, when I'm an adult, why is he going to love me, or why is she going to give me what my mum couldn't? Your parents are your first role models. So whatever modelling or things that happen within your household when you're young, those values or those beliefs about life are formed, and it's hard to shift them, but they can be shifted. So what happens then? The child eventually goes into survival mode behaviours. So a child that doesn't get their needs met, so in the work that I've done as a social worker, so I'm not going down the talking about abuse and stuff where it's a different level. Even if a child has been neglected, which is still a form of abuse, and things have happened, it's things like walking into a child's bedroom and it is just an empty room with no sensory stuff, no pictures, no toys, empty floor, just a mattress and a bed. Now, some people will say, well, you know, the parent can't afford it, or that's not a big deal, they've still got a bed. But for a child to have no stimulation at all, so they've got no toys and they've got no, is a big thing. It's not a big deal to us, but to a 3-year-old, to not even have like a doll to play with. And what it's doing is it's giving them a message then that, you know, there's no fun in this household, and that, you know, life is about hardship. And these are all messages that they're not going to be old enough to make you understand what's going on, but they're just going to see it and they're going to know something's not right. So it affects children by them becoming robotic. They've experienced robotic parenting, so they become robotic. Lots of children become more mature than they are. So you can speak to a 5-year-old who starts talking to you as though he's an adult, has seen too much, knows too much, and you're thinking, wow. I've spoke to some little children where they know so much, and you're thinking, it's not about knowledge and they've got intelligence, it's more of their things that they shouldn't know about what a gun looks like, or they shouldn't be on the streets at like 1 in the morning and stuff because their mum has taken them round to someone's house and things. So they can become too mature, they've missed out on childhood, they can be on high alert, not trust anyone, and their emotions can be dysregulated. And what that means is that they can't control their emotions. Little things that usually wouldn't make them cry, they're crying about. Little things that they're supposed to be empathic about, so they might push someone over or see someone fall over and they might start laughing, and they might not recognise or be empathic to pain or to someone else being hurt or to other people's feelings. So how does all this affect you as an adult in your relationships if you've been through all of this? The first thing is sabotage. You're not going to believe that a relationship can be trusted. So if someone is being nice to you, your belief is going to be that it can't be true. They're only doing this because they want something from me. They're only doing this because they don't really like me. Because how can they like me or love me when my parents didn't? So you have feelings of feeling unlovable, of feeling worthless, and no matter how many people say things to you of the opposite, to contradict how you feel, you're just not going to believe it, because it's deeper than that. It's more of you just don't believe it to be true. The other thing is that you have a fear of abandonment, a fear of rejection. This can form itself in not trusting what a person says to you. It can also form itself in being overbearing. Someone who is like fearful of being abandoned at any moment because it's happened to them before when they were little will want to follow someone everywhere they go. They'll be phoning them 40 times when they've left the house. They will say, if you leave, don't come back because I don't trust where you're going. And really where it's coming from is insecurity, a feeling that you're going to be rejected, that they're never going to come back. Also, people with attachment issues in their relationship some people decide to have multiple partners rather than settling for one relationship because it seems less daunting. If you're in one relationship, you have to commit to that person, you have to be vulnerable, you have to accept that this could go somewhere, that it could actually be really good. And for people with attachment issues, that's too scary. And that's where the cycle comes in. They want to be loved, they want things to be normal, they want a good relationship, but they don't know what it feels like. They've never experienced it, so therefore they don't want it. So they're going back and forth. I want this loving relationship with this person, but I don't believe it will last. I don't believe what he says. I don't think I deserve it. So if I have lots of relationships, I can sabotage them, or I don't have to be too invested, or it's not going to work out anyway because they've got other women. So it's easier, it's an easier option, but it's not done purposely. Sometimes it's actually unconscious. And the final thing really is that you're on edge and you've got insecurities. So those feelings that you had when you were little, when your mum didn't come to rescue you when you fell over, where you were left probably in the cot, the baby cot, for days on end while mum went off to find drugs, those insecurities come back. You're always on edge. You're always thinking what's going to happen next. You're always thinking, is this going to happen? Is he going to leave? Is he going to make a rash decision? Is this going to work? You can never feel relaxed in your relationship. So the key really is to recognise when someone is struggling from things that have happened in the past or happened in their childhood compared to what's going on in the relationship right now. And as a counsellor, I would be working with the person to look at the past, to look at what's happened, to help them rebuild that, and then they can work on what's going on in the present. Because for people with attachment issues, unless they're addressed, identified and worked through, it's going to be really difficult because they're so ingrained. That's because your parents are the people you trust. So whatever behaviour they've demonstrated to you, you're going to believe that that is the right way of living. No one's going to be able to convince you of that. So it's about going to see a counsellor, helping them to help you work through it, and then hopefully you'll be able to have more successful, rewarding, loving relationships. Thank you for watching, everyone. I know this video is a bit longer than my usual, but this is a really in-depth topic. I've really just covered the surface. It's really, really interesting. So there's lots of books out there and lots of videos if you want to find out more. So I hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to comment, to like, to share and to subscribe. Take care, everyone. Bye.